What's up, North Carolina? Welcome back to episode 6 of season 3 of Liberty Inc., your all things Liberty in North Carolina podcast. I'm Rob Yates, communications director for the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. Happy to see you all joining us today. First of all, I want to say happy 4th of July. I love celebrating the day we gave 2 middle fingers to our would-be oppressors and declared we would not tolerate tyranny. Comes at the end of a 2-week stretch, starting with Juneteenth, the second time we had to cast off the shackles of slavery and declare that this was a country of free people. And I sincerely hope that all of you are as committed as I am and the rest of us in the LPNC are to continuing that fight for our freedom, for our liberty, for the right to self-govern. On today's episode, we're switching it up a little bit. It's a really good one. First, Sean Haugh, Vice Chair, handles the legislative update, gives his take on some of the bills that have come through, that have been signed, how when we both sides the issue, what happens is both sides are tyrannical. It's what's your flavor of authoritarianism? The libertarian way is self-govern, let the free market decide. Then in our interview, we did switch it up a little bit. I go one-on-one with LPNC Chair Ryan Brown. It is a wide-ranging, in-depth interview talking about who Ryan is and what his vision is for the LPNC over this year and the next. Highly recommend it. We have a little bit of fun too. And then, as always, Dub and Groo talk sports. Thank you all again for joining us. Please be safe. I would like to see as many fingers on the 5th of July as there are on the 3rd for all registered libertarians in North Carolina. Have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy the episode.
Well, here I am 7 years later, and thankfully nobody shot me. But I still have to listen to this nonsense all over again. There are a whole host of bills in the NC legislature targeting transgender people. The one I have my eye on is S-808 regarding medical treatment for gender transition for minors. Now, as of this moment, it's awaiting the governor's veto and, of course, an override. And just like HB 2, it will all end in sorrow. Now, the libertarian position on all culture war issues is the same. At the core of libertarianism is you own yourself. It's your life, and you should be free to live it according to your own values. Government shouldn't discriminate for or against any peaceful lifestyle. But what really interests me about these anti-trans bills in states all across the country is that they are immediately vaporized upon contact with federal court. I mean, it's like listening to our next door neighbor's bug zapper when Miss Sweetie and I are enjoying some evening porch time. I mean, in state after state, judges are finding every conceivable reason to strike down these laws: free speech, due process, equal protection, targeted discrimination, and interference with the doctor-patient relationship and the parent-child relationship. So let's see what a few of these judges had to say. Now, Robert Hinkle in the Northern District of Florida states it clearly: dissuading a person from conforming to the person's gender identity rather than to the person's natal sex is not a legitimate state interest. Hinkle later gets to the heart of the matter. Many people with this view tend to disapprove all things transgender and so oppose medical care that supports a person's transgender existence. Now, James Moody in Arkansas weighed the experts brought by both sides and was unimpressed with those trying to defend these laws. He said, most of the state's expert witnesses were unqualified to offer relevant expert testimony and offered unreliable testimony. And later, the state offered no evidence to refute the decades of clinical experience demonstrating the efficacy of gender-affirming medical care. Additionally, the state's experts offered no evidence-based treatment alternatives. Now, let me translate that for you from the legalese. Moody is calling the state a big fat bunch of liars. Now, it wouldn't be the first time the state has whipped up a moral panic to distract us from everything else they're doing to us. Now, Eli Richardson in Tennessee, after citing a zillion precedents, concludes parents have the fundamental right to direct the medical care of their children. Now, that sounds about right to me. What's maddening is the North Carolina GOP knew this would happen after their experience with HB2, and yet they did it anyway. It just goes to show Republicans are all for a bunch of performative nonsense that they know will never amount to anything, while they're hoping you're distracted from how they continue to spend like drunken sailors and further deprive us of our rights. Meanwhile, the Democrats just sit there and cry, completely incompetent to do anything in the face of this. I mean, neither party is serious about governance. So there's only one solution to this mess. Vote Libertarian and let serious people tackle the real issues facing North Carolinians. I'm Sean Haugh, and I support your life, your way.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I am stoked for my guest today. We have the chair of the Libertarian Party of North Carolina, your very own Ryan and Brown. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well.
We have been working together for quite some time. I noticed you're drinking. What are you drinking today?
What am I drinking today? I am drinking Knob Creek. There you go.
Very nice, very nice. I got my my 1792. Caskers.com. I highly recommend it on special.
Not a paid ad. You can't tell, but it's in my 4th of July glass. You know, 'tis the season.
It's beautiful. Cheers.
Cheers to rebellion.
Raise a glass to freedom.
Raise a glass to freedom, something they can never take away.
Thank you for sitting down with us today. I know you've been on the podcast every single week, doing the legislative update, doing all the stuff that keeps us going week out, informing people, you know, doing your job, but people want to get to know you. Who is the chair of the LPNC? Who is Ryan Brown? So I want to start off with a question that I've asked a few people, pretty basic one, but a pretty telling one. What was your quote unquote red pill moment? When did you realize you were libertarian?
Right. So I think I told my story before, and if not, then if I've met you in person, I've probably told my story. But I was sort of like a vote harder Republican kind of guy, right? You know, small government, individual freedom, the ability to do what you want, low taxes, and slowly over time. So I don't know if I had a big red pill moment or not, but slowly over time, it's like these guys get elected and don't do anything. You know, they just do the same exact thing the Democrats do, but as Malice says, they're just driving the speed limit instead of putting their foot down. So probably the biggest, you know, like red pill moment that really radicalized me along with other people is when COVID hit and Republicans were almost just as bad as Democrats on the whole. So I know that might shock a lot of people, but yeah, that was probably my red pill moment and realized that, you know, Democrats really aren't that good. Republicans really aren't that, they have no fortitude. And, you know, libertarians, it's sort of what I believed in the whole time.
It's awesome to hear. I empathize with that. I'm older. I've been libertarian for a little bit longer because of my age. I think when you're my age, we'll been about the same. But that was when I decided to take action. I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe what people are just accepting. So coming out of that, as you jumped into the party, what was the first thing you did when you started getting more active?
So I found some of the people on social media was really what was going on. And then when I first jumped in, it was like, I hear this Rothbard guy, he's pretty interesting. Read Anatomy in the State and went, yep, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to get involved, you know? So I jumped in at the local level, and I was moving at the time, but I went to where I had grown up. I'd grown up in Raleigh, so I went to the Wake County Libertarian meetup in spring of 21, I guess. And so then just jumped in there, and D convinced me to run for office about 2 meetings later, and, you know, just kind of jumped in head first.
And that's obviously a reference to Dorothy, quote unquote, D. Watson, now Secretary and Political and Policy Director.
Correct.
Who's also run a few times and is definitely someone, if you're listening and you're thinking about running, reach out. Is it politics@lpnc.org?
Politics@lpnc.org, or chair@lpnc.org, secretary@lpnc.org, whatever you remember, just send it there and we'll find it.
Leave a comment under this. We'll find it. Reach out somehow. We will get back to you.
Absolutely. Filing is July 7 to July 21. So it's right around the corner.
My 43rd birthday is the last day of filing.
Happy birthday.
We'll see. Let's see how many file. So that's a good segue, because I want to talk to you, and I want to spend a little time talking about your priorities for the LPNC, but let's talk about candidates. What do you want to see out of candidates, campaigns, successful runs, numbers? What are we looking for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to run as many principled libertarians as we can. And we want to really try and influence the local elections, which is what most of the elections are in 23. We want to really influence the local elections, because a lot of times the policies that directly affect you the most are done at a local level. They're implemented at a local level. And there's a lot of local governments that will stand up to the state or federal government in certain things. So that you can really increase liberty at a local level, and there's seats that are much easier to win than, say, a statewide or a national level race. Sometimes these races only have a couple thousand people voting in them, and you might know half the voters because you've lived in the town for 20 years, right? But, you know, whatever it is, the local is where we can really influence change. So we'd like to run as many local candidates as possible, get as many local elected libertarians as possible. And, you know, maybe a little bit of inside baseball and strategy is, we're not going to be able to win these congressional or Senate seats or in the House or anywhere without having these local elections that we can show that libertarians know what's up, that we know how to best treat people, we know how to best run things. So yeah, really it's just win local elections, make sure we're doing it with good libertarians, and then using that to springboard into further election wins.
And that's when you say local elections, I think a lot of people don't realize, obviously, you know, your local state representative, so Carolina State House, Carolina Senate, sure, but there's a more local level than that. You've got city council, you've got school board, you've got soil and water commission, you've got sheriff can be elected in a lot of places. And as you said, a lot of these are uncontested. If someone wants to run, what is that going to entail? What are they looking at? What's the time? What's the money required? What are the state requirements, the Board of Election requirements?
Absolutely. So I don't know all of the details, right? That's something for you know, D to look at and help you with. But in general, these races are nonpartisan, so you can be registered unaffiliated or libertarian if you wanted to run. The filing fee is usually, I think, 1% of the total income of the actual seat once you get elected. So in my case, I live in the city of Creedmoor, and Creedmoor City Council is a $10 filing fee. So for a lot of these races, it's not an expensive race at all. Like if you want to go to you know, U.S. House, it's going to be $1,400, I think, or something to file, or $2,000 to file. So this is not the kind of commitment that you would expect from that. Most of these local elections, these local offices are part-time. You can work your day job and then have the meeting in the evening or whenever it is. And then there are usually residency requirements, but I don't remember exactly what they are. I think you might just have to be a resident 30 days before the election, or 30 days before filing. I can't remember exactly what it is, but the Board of Elections website will let you know.
So you touched on something earlier too, and there's a couple of reasons that people should run locally, and I think it's worth delving into both of them a little bit more. One, obviously, if we win elections and start influencing policy and things start going well, it's proof of concept. Like, hey, look, it's getting better. Our way works. But I think the other one that we don't talk about as much that's important is it's very hard to win the larger elections without name recognition. So can you talk a little bit about, yes, you can run a messaging campaign. Sure, you can file and just be on the same thing every time, but there's also a pathway to winning bigger elections. And it starts off by filing and honestly planning to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you win we'll take my case. If I were to win city council, or at least run for city council, put on a good show, and maybe I don't win, maybe I do win, but there are some people in the county who are maybe disgruntled with the other establishment parties that are willing to work with other people and cross the line. And even if I win or don't win in the city council this year, next year I could end up winning the county because the whole group of disgruntled people see me and know I'm serious, see me out campaigning, see me out doing the right thing. And if they don't like one of their representatives, then, well, they can just go ahead and replace them.
So what does that take? What does campaigning take?
Right. Well, so campaigning can be whatever you make it, right? And like you said, there's a paper ballot. You just get on there or paper candidate. You just get on the ballot and you don't do anything, and you go out and dinner one night and you say, hey, vote for me. And that's about all you do, right? You can do it. I don't know if people think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's certainly some strategy that some libertarians have gone with. If you want to actually get out and win a campaign, what it takes is knowing your community to a deep level, right? So if you've been in the same community for 20 years and you know everybody and you know the person, you know your mail guy, you know the person who runs a local restaurant, you know all these people, and you look at them and you say, look, I want to either change, or I want to continue to help run this place better, or I just want to run and try and support you in any way possible. That's really what it takes. We actually had a mayor who was quite young who won an election, but it's because he's been in his community for a long time, and he knows the people that elected him. And I think that's a big thing. So getting out to know the people who elect you is probably the most important thing in campaigning.
So that's an excellent point. And I'll throw if you look up on the screen, it is Ballotopedia. I think you're talking about Brian Tate Mayo of Tarboro. So he won the next one by a decent percentage, and then he kind of ran away with the mayor's race. Hopefully we'll have him on the podcast a little bit later on, but he's one of a handful, but a big handful of libertarians who have now gotten elected in North Carolina, and we are continuing to grow. So let me shift gears just a little bit. As you look at North Carolina as a state, what regions are we focused on right now? Where are you happy with things are growing, and where do you think we need to be paying more attention?
In what context? In the running election or running campaigns, or
just let's start with just messaging, because that's where we grow from. People have to know what a libertarian is and what we stand for before we can even think about running candidates or forming affiliates.
Yeah, absolutely. So just because of the state and the demographics, right? If you look kind of in the center of the state, the northern center or the middle is Raleigh and Durham, and then sort of in the center of the state is Charlotte, but on the southern border. So those are our two powerhouse areas. North Carolina, we've sort of considered the seat of the state party, and I think the state party is doing well with our messaging. I think state party is doing well with our activities. Raleigh, Durham, Wake, both those affiliates are doing quite well. Going to run some candidates hopefully this year, and if not, then certainly in 24. Charlotte, they are out and active. They're doing well. We've got a high percentage of people who are working there. It's obviously where you're from. And then on the East Coast, we have some of our affiliates putting on plenty of events for candidates and inviting in presidential candidates and just having some fun, having some hangouts. In the western part of the state, it's a little harder to get mobilized out there just because the distances between population centers. But we are starting some new affiliates and kickstarting some affiliates. So we're active all over, and we are certainly happy to try and get you active in your county if you're listening and you don't know of an affiliate. But yeah, I mean, we're active all over, and we're always looking to grow.
So that's North Carolina does break down kind of strange, and particularly looking at the mountain region, the few population centers that are there, particularly around Asheville. I mean, they tend to be so left leaning that they make Charlotte look like a moderate city. But then the rest of it is I think a very liberty minded region, but they go Republican, and it's sort of like Liberty Republican because each little town center works, and they operate in what I would argue is a very libertarian fashion, but they have no reason to change their affiliation. And I think the big message we get through there is the more power you are willing to give to the government, even if they're wielding in a way that is beneficial and freedom focused for you now, the second the tides change, the second the demographics change, whether it gets younger or, people love the mountains because we have some of the most amazing mountains on the planet, and you got people from California and New York we know coming in, and they're disgruntled with where they are, but they're coming here and bringing the same politics that ruin their states. What do you think well, let me ask you this. First of all, should we be wasting energy there right now? And I know eventually we do, but does it make sense to go after those sorts of areas first, or do you think it makes more sense to build on stronger areas right now?
Right. Yeah, you said they're pretty liberal, probably more liberal than Mecklenburg. At least you can still get ice cubes in Mecklenburg, right?
Yes.
They have air conditioning, right? But so you said, is it worth sort of working there if they're so left leaning, right? Libertarians aren't really left leaning or right leaning. So, and I don't think it's a waste of time to work there. There's plenty of ways that you can work in a left leaning area in the city centers or in the right leaning areas. You can, depending on what it is, you're in a right leaning area, you make sure the taxes stay low and the regulations are low, and you have people come start their businesses. If you're in a left leaning area, maybe the play is, hey, we need to stop just these random, traffic tickets and just random, people that are hurting the poor, right? Like you could pick your battles, pick your areas, but don't sell out. You don't have to sell out. Libertarians can appeal to a lot of people, but whatever it is, I don't think you're wasting your time, no matter where you're trying to start an affiliate or where you're trying to work.
It's interesting. I had Matt Clements, the Orange County chair for the Tar Heel newsletter interview a couple months ago. And he was saying how the residents there freaked out because Buc-ee's wanted to come in, and they were all, going green, which is, to me, what they consider green is the opposite of what I would consider green. But they kept the Buc-ee's from coming in. It would have brought a couple thousand jobs, a bunch of tax revenue. And now right outside of Charlotte, Mecklenburg's about to open up the same Buc-ee's that was planned there. And it's going to be this huge economic boost. And ironically, because there are alternative energy source technology centers sprouting up in the area, Buc-ee's is going to bring jobs and energy that will ultimately likely drive the sort of change that will lead to, carbon neutral, pollution neutral energy. So no matter what you think about global warming, we're going to get low pollution and pollution free energy. Of course, we also have 4 nuclear power plants, which I like.
Which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So that's a very long segue into, in terms of elections. Okay, we've got a strategy. We got 2023, 2024. It's a bigger year. People, please sign up. Even if you just want to get your name on the ballot and sniff around what it's like, that's getting some name recognition out for next time. But what about issues? What are we focused on for issues this year?
Right. So maybe I'll speak personally first, and then we'll speak. So personally, my big 3 issues are guns. You may or may not be able to tell. I'm a big fan of gun rights, right? Republicans in the House, or I think it was in the House, basically said, "Well, you don't need any more rights this term. We can get you, right? We'll get you next time. They'll just select us one more time. We'll get you." So I think if we're running at a local level in 23, we can run on the fact that, hey, I want this locality, I want this jurisdiction to be a gun sanctuary, right? You know, I want this to say, I don't care what the state law is or the federal law is, our officers are not going to enforce this law, right? You could see that with the pistol brace ban. You know, the frame and receiver rule was just vacated in the Fifth Circuit. Yay, we win there. But if the pistol brace rule is held up, do you really want to send a bunch of people to jail? I don't know. Get elected locally as a mayor and tell the police that if you do this, you're getting fired. Yeah. Right? Good enough for me. So I think guns are a big one for both 23 and 24. We can do, you know, we can hit it at both elections. Another one is legalizing or at least decriminalizing certain drugs, right? There's no reason that we need to be throwing a bunch of people in jail if they just want to do something that doesn't hurt anybody, or they've got a problem and they need help, but you know, they're using something as a crutch doesn't mean they need to go to jail.
It's the whole, and I know it's more nuanced than this, but generally, if you have a victimless crime, you don't have a crime.
Right. Yeah. So there's no victim. You know, if there's no victim, then there's no crime. It's clear, like it just is what it is. So when it comes to drug legalization or decriminalization, again, these issues can be taken and addressed at both the state and the local level. If you want to run in 24, you run on that, and you get in there and you say, look, we want to legalize or decriminalize drugs, and we don't want to do it like the ABC store system. Nobody likes the ABC store system. Let's just get rid of that and let people have free enterprise. But at the local level, you can say, look, there's no reason that some, you know, maybe he's a war vet, maybe he has PTSD. There's no reason that dude, if he wants to use, you know, I don't know, what is it? Psilocybin, or maybe he wants to smoke
for PTSD, but we don't even need that far. If he wants to,
maybe he wants to smoke a joint.
Yeah. He feels better. Instead, he goes to the doctor. They write a prescription for OxyContin. Next thing you know, he's homeless, you know, scrapping for heroin because it's cheaper.
Right. And look,
just let him smoke a joint.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I mean, you know, there's claims that marijuana is a miracle drug. You know, I don't really care. I don't really know. I'm the worst libertarian. I've never smoked weed in my life. But the point is that you can't have these localities and these police just locking people up for no reason. And thankfully, a lot of these people are getting to the point where unless you're doing something bad, they'll steal your joint and tell you to go home. So it's not too bad, right? But, you know, you have to have a policy. You have to have a clear drug decriminalization / legalization sanctuary, right? And that's, I've said it twice now, but at the local level, you can nullify state and federal laws. You know, people complain about the sanctuary cities because they don't think they want to have that much immigration or illegal immigration. Whatever the point is, it doesn't really matter. That's something that localities can do. And the feds have a hard time trying to break through that sort of resistance. So, what else we got? I think the third issue that maybe I would like to see is just getting rid of the government / state / college monopoly on healthcare. It's just a bizarre and crazy, just conglomeration of corruption and, you know, patting each other on the back and filling each other's wallets. And I think it's just something that I'm not sure if you could tackle that at the local level. I don't know what the local certificate of need, you know, policies look like and everything else. But I mean, that's something in 24 that we definitely got to work on.
Well, I think that's a really good one. Just on cost alone, we've gotten to a place where healthcare costs 10 times. It costs us 10 times what it actually costs to administer, because you have so many layers of bureaucracy, so many regulations to hop through, so much money going into just adjudicating disagreements between insurance companies, hospitals, and patients who can't afford it, and then we're on the hook for it. And we've created, because I've lived around the world a little bit, and I would argue that we still have the best healthcare system. If I'm getting a rare form of cancer, I want to be in the United States. But we have taken that and allowed the regulators to get involved to the point where we've regulated it beyond even the most extreme imagination from a few years ago of how much it could cost. And so then our solution is, hey, let's give Pfizer $100 billion to force everyone to take a vaccine.
And immunity.
Yeah, God. That's something else that we can discuss some other time over a different drink, but I want to propose a constitutional amendment where the government cannot grant immunity to any entity whatsoever, from
Including
police to
themselves.
corporations, 100%. So let me ask you about another issue, and I'm just curious on your take on this. Because when it comes to immigration, you really have two types of libertarians primarily. You have full, immediate, open border libertarians, and you have libertarians that say, first, we got to get rid of the welfare state, and then we can have open borders. And to be honest with you, I think it's a little more nuanced, because I think more immigration would actually help influence getting rid of the welfare state. But I'm of the opinion that it's counterproductive to allow more people to come in and then pump them with resources, because I think you're bribing them to vote for a certain party. But I'm curious where you fall on that one.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a straw man, right? You know, both sides use sort of straw man, but I'm of the idea that you can't centrally plan liberty, right? So what is it that's going to cause a downfare of the welfare warfare state? I don't really know. I don't really care what it is, right? Because right now we've got, it might actually be our own actions, right? It might be the emergence of BRICS and, you know, as a more realistic gold standard that does it. You know, it might be. I don't know. It could be the fact that we tried to bring in 1 million more people a year, or 2 million more people a year than we do, and we can't afford to pay for it all. I don't know. But the thing to me is that so many times you see, you know, a story, 17 immigrants dead, you know, of heat stroke trying to get in. And like, what are we really saying here? Wait, you can't come to this country that my forefathers freely came to this country to, you know. I think it's sort of silly. I think sort of the libertarian, it's actually property rights border argument is sort of stretching it. Are you supposed to allow illegal immigration, whatever you want to call it, free movement movement against your will onto your property? No, you don't have to allow that. But if someone wants to fly into Charlotte and land on a plane and go book a hotel or buy a house, I really don't care, you know?
I'm kind of with you there. I think the way to deal with it is not to limit the number of people, but rather to have a deliberately reducing budget annually that's dedicated to immigration, so that people can come in, but they're forced to deal with further and further dispersed resources. And then you incentivize economic productivity and participation in the market.
Right. I think it is sort of a reasonable expectation that the country knows who its people are.
Yeah.
So if we want to have immigration laws, it's you know, you walk up to the border and you say, hey, I want to come in, and they say, have you ever been a terrorist? No. Are you smuggling drugs? Yes. Okay, go on through. You know, like
what drugs?
Yeah,
your pockets.
no, that's fine. Just declare them, you know. But yeah, it sort of the immigration thing is tied in with the drug thing, anyways.
100%.
Like we talk about drug problem, and the drug problem is really that we have too many doctors getting people hooked on drugs, and then regulations about people who actually need those drugs, and then you have immigration, so you trade, you know, we'll get you across the border if you carry our drugs, and then if you get caught, then we're just going to leave you alone and you're screwed. You know, it's all just a government created mess. Just end the drug war and just let people walk through the border, maybe have a 10-second stop, you know. Does it really bother that many people?
I think one of the most counterintuitive and counterproductive outcomes of the current I can't even call it a policy, whatever the hell we're doing at the border, but a lot, like, there is a much higher representation of criminal activity in the current immigration population, because we make people criminals by how they have to come in. So it's either people who have that gene or who are desperate to get out. And we are incentivizing, I don't want to say the worst sort of people who are willing to go to more extreme behaviors, I think is the best way to put it. And then we make them illegal, like a human can be illegal the second they get in, which actually leads me to something I really want to hear your thoughts on, and what you would like to see going forward as we talk about illegal people, and starting with the situation in Gastonia. But how do you feel the state should be dealing with criminal justice reform right now?
I mean, I personally know a guy, well, it's not technically criminal justice, but I'll start with it, right? I technically know a guy who got busted for selling drinks without a license at at a concert he had for 100 people,
During the
right?
speakeasy.
Right. But so, he ended up getting raided by the alcohol, tobacco, whoever the hell these people are in North Carolina, right? The ALE, the alcohol law enforcement people. But he ended up getting busted for that, and then he had to go to court over it, and there's a whole thing when no one was getting hurt, right? No one was getting hurt. So in North Carolina, we have too many laws that'll just get you for being somewhere or someplace or doing something that the state doesn't approve of, right? And there's no victim, there's no crime, there's no fraud, there's nothing, and they just get you for doing something they don't want you to do. So I can transition that into the criminal justice system in Gastonia if you want, or I can just talk more general. But
Give us both.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Should I-
in general, the state has all these licenses for all these different things, and then they have no incentive to let you just, or they have an incentive to stop you from doing something because that's how they get their salary paid. Well, yeah, we arrested 17 illegal this and that, unlicensed these and those. It's ridiculous, but it's what the state does, what the cities and the counties do. It's but when it comes to something like Gastonia, right, they've basically made it illegal to be homeless.
Yep.
And
illegal to
man,
help the homeless.
And illegal to help the homeless. And we heard an impassioned speech from Thomas Hill an episode or two ago about what's going on in Gastonia. But man, these people make me so angry.
Yeah.
They recently raided and turned off the power and the water to the church there. And there's certain things you can say online that get the feds to show up to your door, and that's one of those things. Those are the thoughts I'm thinking about this quote unquote people in Gastonia, right? But right now they have the power to do that. They have the power to go in there because their local government has decided that they don't like the homeless. So, we have to get involved in as many ways as possible, whether that be showing up there and stopping this crap from going on, or from getting elected to going to the city council meeting all the time, every time, and just looking these people in the eye and say, look, it's not hyperbolic. You want the homeless gone or dead, and it doesn't matter which way to you. That's the problem with the criminal justice system, because they have the ability to do that, and there's no repercussions whatsoever.
Well, coming full circle to the run for candidacy, think local. So Green Reason magazine had an article this week that was really good about a guy in Brooklyn who was attacked, and he pulled out a firearm and he defended himself, and God knows how it could have come out: mugged, robbed, injured, or worse. Cops raided his house, found unregistered firearms, and he is now facing more prison time than the mugger would have faced if he had been arrested for attacking the guy. And it's politicians justify these things. We need to keep you safe from guns. We need to keep the streets clean. The homeless are dangerous and dirty, and they have drugs. And okay, well, Pastor Moses Colbert gave them all a place to stay to keep it concentrated. Go watch the videos. He has helped countless people overcome addiction, get their lives back on track. And instead, the city of Gastonia made it personal, and they just hit him with another $60,000 fine, seriously, for the crime of feeding the homeless. So yeah, this running local really makes a difference. And I will say, I'm with you. Like, I write stuff to some of those city council members in Gastonia, and then I delete all of it, and like, because I don't want them showing up at my door either. So on the criminal justice reform thing in particular, because I think there is an appetite with not just some constituents of the two major parties, but some of the allies we found on single issues, some of the people in the Green Party, some of the new members of the Forward Party. What aspects of criminal justice and police accountability do you think we could really possibly see some changes in the next couple of years? So do you think we can look for body camera reform or law reform? Do you think qualified immunity restrictions are within our grasp? What other things could we be looking for?
Right. I might be the most cynical 28-year-old.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. I think body camera footage has a chance, I don't think qualified immunity ever has a chance. It's going to have to be something the Supreme Court looks at again and says, you know what, we got this wrong. You know, it turns out you can violate someone's rights by shooting them in the knee. And then, you know, there was a case about qualified immunity where a guy shot somebody in the knee with a shotgun, I think. And he's like, I didn't realize that would violate his civil rights. And the court's like, yep, he wouldn't have had any clue that would have violated his civil rights. Next time you can't do it, but this time you're good. You know, so the courts are just off the rails with that one, I think. It's not something we can necessarily do locally, just because I don't think there's appetite for either major party, because they don't want to lose the cop vote. So we'll have to wait for the courts on that one. But there is, I think, a serious chance at getting body camera footage reform. You know, there are certain cases, like another one in Gastonia, where we don't have body camera footage, I don't believe, from a police shooting. And you're like, why can't we get that? You know, and so maybe the Democrats want to get that one, and maybe the Republicans want to get the Monica Ursi body camera footage. That was, you know, she tried, somehow it got out. I don't think it was her. You know, the reporter who put it out.
Broke it, yeah.
The reporter who put it out said it wasn't her, right? But she had to go in front of a court and say, no, it wasn't me, right? Like, come on, we just need to get this stuff out there.
She's in front of a court because a video of something directly pertinent to her arrest and her arrest was out in the public
by someone else.
It's like the Gastonia situation with Josh Aurora when he was first arrested. Travis Page, I'm going to pause because I don't want to say bad things about people on this. And I forget her name, the head police attorney. But when WCNC first petitioned for the body camera footage, they went in and argued against releasing it because, and you can't make this up, they said it would prevent Joshua from getting a fair trial. So their argument was the video footage of what actually happened would prevent him from getting a fair trial. And they said it with a straight face, but a judge went with them. We don't realize how much power these DAs have until you're in the system.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure, if someone who is accused of a crime wants the ability to receive and then do what they want with the entire footage of them committing the so-called crime, then it might be unintelligent. It might not be smart for them to put it out there. If the dude is, seen in the body camera footage, putting up a gun, shooting at full auto straight in the air, he may not want to put that out there. It might actually give him a bad chance at a fair trial. But if a dude is just sitting there or standing there on the side of the road, not even asking people for money, but just holding out a sign that says, hey, have a nice day. If he wants to put that out there, why not? Who cares? It's absurd to me.
Even the guy doing something wrong, I mean, he's still getting a fair trial. It's just not
right. He might have influenced some people, but you can still find a set of 12 or 14 who haven't seen a video that he puts out. So to me, at least personally, you should be able to request the body camera footage of your own alleged crime committed. Right? I mean, just do it. I mean, there's no reason that you can't do that. And then you should be able to do with it what you please, because there's no victim to putting a video online that you requested that's of you. It's something that needs to change. And I think, to tie this into the bigger criminal justice reform issue, if there's transparency, there can be change. Okay, nobody really wants to talk or really knows about all the nebulous ideas of police brutality and all this. But when you see a video of a guy tasing a dog and lying about it, you can sit there and say,
6 feet away.
This is just wrong. It's not a nebulous idea. It's not like a hypothetical corrupt cop. It's a real cop who's just a jerk, an absolute evil scumbag who's afraid of a dog looking at him. He's just...
Or just wants to punish somebody.
It's just wrong.
Yeah.
And these cops have the mentality... Maybe I'll lose the cop vote here. These cops have a mentality of, as long as I get home, it doesn't matter what I do. I might be able to lie. I might have to lie. I might have to arrest a guy who's not hurting anybody. I might have to tase a dog. And I might have to lie to my, sergeant about what happened. But as long as I get home, then I'll be fine. And it's just, you have to provide accountability, and there's no accountability unless there's transparency.
There's another side to it too, and that's with transparency, the good cops will start getting credit for being good cops. Because I tend to be a little harsher on cops. I think I'm with you. They have a lot of power. They have the power to take away your liberty. They have the power to take away your life, and the state backs them up almost all the time. I think they should be held to the highest imaginable standard. And so I will also focus on the negatives, because those, to me, those just shine brighter than any positives. But to deny the concept or the idea that there are some really good cops out there really trying to make a difference, it's not factual, I don't think. And we don't see it. We don't hear about it. If we had just open access to all this body camera footage, I think you would start seeing the police would put up a counter narrative, and it would be effective, because it'd be like, hey, policing is a really complicated job. They see horrible things. They see child abductions and brutal murders and child assault, things like that. And yeah, they do want to get home to their families too. We just want everyone to get home to their families.
Right.
There's another case in Fayetteville. I think it was 2019 with the shooting, but Jada Johnson, I want to say, but she was called for a mental breakdown, essentially. She had, at 15, she reported a rape by her ex-boyfriend. The cops refused to take her case. The guy kept harassing her. The cops started harassing her for continuing to call. It led to her having a mental breakdown. She spent time in an institution. She came out. She's with her parents. Her parents called because she was really apparently like having a breakdown. Cops show up. And to be fair, from my understanding, at first she was waving a gun, but she surrendered the gun and was lying on her stomach. And the cop shot her in the back 17 times in front of her 2-year-old daughter. And we can't get the body camera footage on that. So now it's just the cop's word against other people, against the 2-year-olds, I guess. That 2-year-old has to live with seeing her mom killed like that. And those cops will never face accountability.
Right. I'll speak to that in a second, but I just kind of want to jump back a little bit, right? We were talking about all these bad cops and all the bad stuff they do, right? A lot of the quote bad stuff they do, we think is bad because there's no victim. There's no crime. If we had cops focusing on theft, rape, murder, abuse, whatever it is, and you have a body camera footage of some cop sees an old lady getting beat up and tackles the crap out of the dude and arrests him, that's awesome, right? That's cool. Now, granted, we still want
if there's a few extra punches thrown.
Right, you still want the end the police monopoly, violence. We get it, but like that's cool. That's a crime. That's a crime. There's a victim. There's an arrest. Okay, we would have a much better police force and a much happier society if we focused on crimes where there was a victim. But to speak to the story you're talking about, there is a victim, and the cop didn't want to solve it. They didn't want to solve the crime. The problem is that these crimes actually take effort, right? Sitting at a traffic stop and arresting someone who does nothing wrong, or giving someone a ticket who does nothing wrong. Yep, pad the stats, get an extra $100 in court fees. Move along. That's easy. Cops have they have a tough job, but some of the stuff they do is just tax enforcement. It's unimpressive, right? I could do it. But the thing is like when it comes to those cases, there was another case. I can't remember. I think the guy's name was Shriver. Maybe
Cherokee guy.
I don't know. It was out west, I think. But he's in a hotel, and he's on his knees with his hands above his head.
Oh, yeah, that one's hard to watch.
Yeah, and the cops are saying, sit up, stand down, turn around, move, don't move, and everything else. And the dude's like, what do you want me to do? And all of a sudden they just shoot him.
Yeah.
And we got the body camera footage there, and I still don't think there was anything wrong.
He was got a qualified immunity.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you think that shooting a guy while you're giving unclear instructions repeatedly is just not going to violate someone's rights?
Dude was in boxers and an undershirt too. Like he was clearly not armed. They
Right.
could have said, lie down, put your hands out, and then gone over and handcuffed him. And that would have been that.
Yeah. And just the third case that I thought of. I'm really bad with names. Guy in Colorado shows up, just walking around a park or the city, whatever it is, and there's a shooter
One
who
who
starts
saved
shooting,
people. Oh God.
and he stops the shooting, and the cops show up and shoot him, right? And so you've got these
Duncan
incidents.
Lamp or Breonna Taylor.
Duncan Lepp, killed in his sleep right next to his pregnant girlfriend who got shot. I think, maybe, don't quote me on
think in
that,
the
but she
leg.
was
She was
in
alright.
bed with him. Breonna Taylor, who got killed serving a stupid drug warrant, if I'm correct, for her boyfriend or husband or whoever it was. All these cases, and even when we have the body camera footage, then we're still not getting arrests and we're still not getting convictions. But, and maybe this is sort of a collapsitarian approach, right? But like, people are looking at these and saying, these people are not my friends. These cops are not my friends, at least the ones who are running around and shooting people for no reason. Okay? And I'm not out here to be anti-cop. I'm out here to be, let's police things
accountability.
let's pro accountability. Let's police things where there's a victim, and because in a lot of these cases, there's a clear victim, and the clear victim ended up dead on the end of a police bullet. Right? And that might not be popular and whatever it is, right? I'm not trying to go hard anti-cop, because I know a couple cops, they're cool people, but at the same time, if you're going to enforce quote unquote crime where there's no victim, then you're really just the arm of you're just the teeth of the state, and it's not impressive.
Well, the other point you made about cops' goal is to like get home to their families. If you stop enforcing victimless crimes, then you're going to have far, far fewer unexpected shootouts. I can't think of the word, but people just staking out cops and surprise attacks and
Oh, sure.
and the ones that are dangerous are going to be dangerous anyway.
Right.
If you're going after a serial killer, odds are he's not going down. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm making an assumption. I don't know much about serial killers, but
Well, it's like one of the big crimes that I can't remember. It was in the 1930s or whatever. It was a bunch of mobsters, and they got into a shootout outside of a theater, and it was the worst thing possible. And this is why we need to ban machine guns. And it's well, the cops were just laying in wait, trying to get some mobsters who were just trying to sell alcohol that should have been legal anyways. And there's only one person that really died, and except we think that there were 47 people that died. It's the worst thing. It's just, I don't know. There's a whole lot of things, and it's all comes back to the fact that there is a state monopoly on policing and violence, and they enforce a lot of laws where there's no victim. There's really no crime in a libertarian sense, and they're just increasing their interactions with people who are just trying to live their day. And at a certain point, when you start going after people repeatedly for crap that everyone understands is just garbage, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of paying my tags for my car, right? And Rob, I'll tell you, I got pulled over, earlier this week or last week.
I might have heard that from a little bird.
Yeah, for not paying my tags, right? But the dude who's allegedly trying to help people maintain a safe, road system, he's coming down around a blind corner going 70 miles an hour with his lights on, trying to catch up to me. And I'm carrying a gun like I always do, and I don't even tell him. I just give him my concealed carry, and I give him this thing, and he doesn't care. He knows I'm not he knows I'm not an issue. He just has to get his property tax paid on his registration so that he gets his, his salary. And that's not really helping anybody. If they were helping people, they'd put it in a place where you could see it coming, and but they just have to hide it and catch people off guard. And come on, I'm just trying to get some breakfast, man. Why you gotta do that to me?
Well, it's the onerous nature of it too. So like I think property tax in and of itself is the most evil tax of all, because you never really own your stuff. Like the state owns it and they can take it. But I think you would find most libertarians would sort of quietly acquiesce if it was like a real safety inspection that cost $10 and then a registration fee that cost $10. Because it's like, all right, you got your safety inspection, and here's the registration, here's your tags, here's the $10 processing fee. We know your brakes work.
And they realized your car frame wasn't rusty, and it's not going to rust in the next 10 years.
Exactly.
So they give it to you for 10 years. But that's not going to happen.
And I could work with that too. But I mean, like, there are a lot of things where we would grin our teeth and be like, yeah, this sort of violates our principle, but we get it. Like, we got to keep the status happy too. But I just, with my inspection, and there was a small thing with my car and then my property tax, I just paid $600 so that my car is legal. My car's 3 years old. I have a pretty nice car. Like, you see my car, it's not super fancy, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's got 50,000 miles. There's nothing wrong with it, but it still cost me just shy of $600 to be able to drive it legally. And I realized today I haven't gotten the new sticker yet, so I could get pulled over and have to deal with that hassle, which is my wife's worst nightmare, because I'm not, like, I mouth off. I'm the one that they're like, sir, step out of the car.
And see, that's the crazy thing, right? Like, we'll loop back 10 minutes to when you talked about the guy in New York City, right? He shot a mugger. You know why they were able to go inside his house and find out that he had illegal guns, quote unquote illegal guns, is because the gun he was carrying was not on his card. He had a license to carry, but the gun he was carrying was not on that card. So then they realized that there must be other guns, and so they would go into his house, right? Because what these cops will do is they'll pull you over for your tags, and then if they find something else, then they can expand. Don't ever consent to a search, right? The only thing he would have found in my case is, Bojangles bags, right? But if they find just a little bit of something, then they can go and search your house, they can arrest you, they can do all this other crap, and that's what it's for. The state doesn't have asset forfeiture, but the feds do. So if they turn in a bunch of money, or they would for your drugs that you have because you're just trying to do what you want and not hurt anybody else, then they end up seizing your assets and they get a little bit of it back. That's what they're doing. They're not doing to help people.
And that's worth explaining, I think, if you all don't know about this. So North Carolina has made civil asset forfeiture in the state illegal. So what that means is they can't take your stuff unless there's a criminal conviction. There is still criminal asset forfeiture. It actually doesn't come up that often. Or it does, but in very small amounts. It's like they took the drugs, which I'm still against, but I can understand where people are fine with that.
It's at least consistent in a non-libertarian worldview.
Yes, exactly. But we have a loophole, and it's called the it's some horrible name, like the Friendly Assistance Program or something. Yeah. But basically, the local cops can form a joint venture with federal cops. Federal cops can take the stuff, they can forfeit it civilly, which means you don't need a conviction. And then they distribute a significant percentage of that back to the state or local police. And we had a email campaign in Huntersville that almost crossed the line and got the police chief to commit to not taking any more money through this civil asset forfeiture program, which was, I thought, a nice win. But yeah, you don't have the right sticker on your car, so we can pull you over and charge you a whole bunch of money. And like, you've never smoked pot. I've never smoked pot today. And I do worry about what might be in my car. So
yeah, it's just the property tax, as you said earlier, is just the worst kind of tax. You don't ever actually own anything, right? You have to pay thousands of dollars a year to rent your property, whether it be a boat, a car, a house, whatever it is, to rent it from the government.
Yeah.
It's in perpetuity, right? You could pay off your house and allegedly own the thing and still got to pay taxes on it.
And some dude in a robe, real or figurative, can sign a piece of paper that says his soldiers can come across your property barrier and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. If we could get rid of the property tax, that's something we should focus on in 23 and 24. Is we can get rid of the property taxes in certain locations. I mean, that's the key to freedom. If you're not subject to the constant authority of the tax man, then you're actually free, I think.
I've even heard suggested that the only property tax that's assessed, and I'm not in favor of this, but it's a compromise I'd be willing to listen to, is at the time of purchase. It's, again, one of those where it's like, I'm against it, but it is at least consistent in a non-libertarian world.
Sure.
So I'm not going to sit here and hang you up on taxes, because we all know where we stand. I have 3 taxation is theft stickers in my
I'll go on for days.
Yeah. and for good reason. And there's a lot that goes into it, which is why I actually don't want to linger on it, because it's a whole full separate discussion. But I want to change gears a little bit. So as chair, you are now head of the party that is running 2 gubernatorial candidates for the first time in 23 years. Can you give me some of your thoughts on what that looks like, what you're excited about, what you're cautious about, and what you hope to see come out of that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we've got 2 great candidates, Shannon Bray and Mike Ross. I mean, they're great. They are, one's a state treasurer, one has run a couple times before, like they are just involved in the party and they are good candidates. I'm excited about it. Hopefully it'll get us good press. Hopefully it gets us sort of some name recognition, maybe for at least a couple people. And maybe in like the case of Mike Ross, like he's working in Gastonia locally. And if people see him on the ballot, they Google him and they might find a news article about, Pastor Moses or Joshua Rohr, right? In the end, I'm very cynical, but I don't think you have to be too cynical to realize they probably won't win this election. But they got we have 2 candidates who are really trying to actually push the needle and get libertarian solutions implemented in North Carolina, and that I appreciate. I'm a little cautious that maybe I was going to say something, but I ran out of things to be cautious of. So I don't know. I mean, it's exciting, the idea that we get a primary and we get there's I think 2.4 million eligible people to vote in our primary, 50,000 libertarians. We might find a couple people who just showed up and we didn't know they were a member of the party, and they showed up and voted on an election for a libertarian primary. I mean, you have to be dedicated to vote in a primary for a candidate has no chance of winning. Right, so maybe we find a couple new volunteers. Maybe we find a new couple local candidates in 25. Whatever it is, I'm just excited. We've got good people out there, and my hope is that whoever the candidate is, they get enough notoriety and name recognition from that primary that they can go up on the debate stage in 24 and sit there with Robinson and Stein and them going back and forth with these. You want to kill minorities and you want to kill babies and you want to kill everybody. And we have a libertarian candidate up there like, look, I don't want to kill anybody. I want to let you guys just live your life. Like, these guys want to force you to do one thing or the other, and I don't want to force you to do anything. I just want you to live peacefully with other people. So that's the big thing I hope to see out of 24 in the primary coming up. I don't know if you've shared it before on this episode or not, but we have a gubernatorial debate coming up on Thursday, the 6th.
Thursday night, 7:45. Check the description of this episode for a link, and it is also on our YouTube channel under the live section for episode 7. Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you for that plug.
And it should be on 97 of our affiliate county web page or Facebook pages, and it should be on our website. And if not, then Rob will put it up before this episode airs anyways. And yeah, it'll be great. So just come on and check us out.
You will all be able to ask live questions. LPMEC chair and former governor candidate Stephen DeFiore will be moderating. I'm pretty excited for that one.
Absolutely.
So the reason I asked about caution is the one thing, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, that I always worry about with messaging with candidates is that candidates can take a philosophical position where they don't do a good job of explaining, I'm not advocating to mandate this. I'm saying this is what I think is better. And we are so used to being in a libertarian world that it's like we can argue pro-life or pro-choice, and we're in this framework where we don't even think about a government involvement. It's not, are we going to make this illegal? It's like, no, this is the better way to do it. How do we cross that bridge where we're communicating in a way that resonates with people who aren't so just embedded in the way we talk and think?
Right. So I mean, I am the spokesperson for the party, but I'll be honest with you. I'm maybe not the best spokesperson, right? That's why I got Rob Yates, my propaganda guy. But in my case, I'm one of those people that's like, look, this is what I truly believe. And I understand that you think that everyone's going to die if we, don't have property tax. But, this is what it is, right? Like, we have a libertarian principle. We're taking things from people or hurting them and without their permission. Like you take something from someone and you don't have their permission, you're committing a crime against them, right? So to me, you apply that to everything in life, and you get this consistent libertarian principle, which I believe in, right? And so that's what I'll argue to people, right? So maybe I'm not the best person to argue to normies, right? And people are like, man, that road construction is really a pain in the butt. And I go, yeah, well, have you considered why the government sucks at road construction?
Yeah.
Right? So maybe I'm not the best person, but you've got plenty of good communicators out there who can sit there and say, look, I understand that you think we need to have X program for Y reason, and that's the best way to do it. But if you look at this other state, they have the same program and it's awful. They have this system in place and it's led to an increase in X, Y, or Z. Or you can sit there and look at certificate of need laws and say, look, we forget North Carolina, because we all love North Carolina. We all hate the feds because they suck at everything, right? Republican or Democrat. Even the feds got rid of certificate of need law. So like maybe there's something we could look at getting through there. And so maybe you make that message, which is not necessarily a principled message, but it's an effective message. It's still a true message that says, look, certificate of need laws might not be the right thing. So I don't know the best way to message to people, I'll be honest, but I know our candidates are going to have to get out there and on the ground, meet the people, and message in ways that are effective to each person. So it's a hard job for our candidates, but I'm looking forward to it because I think we got two good ones.
You actually make a really good point there. I think about this all the time. We're not against government per se, in that we're not against governance. What we're against really is the state. That's a much better way to put it. Because you can have voluntary organizations where there's an hierarchical structure based on what people are good at. That's a form of government. And there's no libertarian that's going to push back on that because it's natural governance. The state is this sort of corporate, bureaucratic, elected official, unholy trinity that, like you said, takes your stuff. Just it's theft unless you put the word state in front of it, and then it's taxes.
Right. So, I mean, I know not everyone's religious, right? But I am, and I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church. And if you look between the Presbyterian Church and then the U.S. federal government and the government system, it's sort of the same thing, right? The Presbyterians were involved in the Civil War. It was that damn Presbyterian fight. And so you look at all this stuff, and we have what some would consider like a mandate or a tax, but you have a tithe, right? But it's, you give a certain percentage of your money to the church, and then you have your local church, you have the regional church, you have the national church, you have all of this stuff, and you know what we call it? The church government, right? So it's not that we're opposed to the government or the governance of multiple levels. We have courts.
Small g government.
Right. It's government. It's governance. It's discrimination in such a way that you decide one thing or another. It's a ruling in that you decide that in order to be part of this voluntary organization, you have to follow these rules. But the whole thing is that it's not the government necessarily that is the problem. It's the fact that you only can choose one government. You can only choose, to live. You don't actually don't get to choose. You have to live underneath the state government, the state that we have.
100%.
So if I were to live completely under the church governance, it would be a voluntary thing.
You're choosing to do it. You
choose to do it. And in that way, you have these courts that you voluntarily agree to that have what we would call elders, but are really just judges, right? And if there's an appeal, it goes to the regional, which is just more judges, but they've all agreed. So if you have a church with a dispute with another region, you have these voluntary systems. And I know we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but that's what I like doing. Maybe it's why I'm not the best messaging person to everyone else.
I love it.
But the point is that you can do all of this, and it's all voluntary, and it's all in such a way that when people think about it, they say, yeah, that makes sense. But not everyone will think that. And that's okay, because there are people that come and go. If you say, I don't want to do this, I'm out, you can leave.
That's the key when you say voluntary.
Yeah. And so, I will literally say behind the camera, behind the scenes, because it is. But on the opposite wall, I have, my ANCAP flag, right? And the problem with it, like the thing with that is that like what that necessitates is the fact that you have the ability to leave. It's all based on consent. And so the problem with our government right now is that there's no consent, right? I can buy my house, I can pay it off, I can do everything else. And the problem is that I still have to pay their taxes. I can't leave. I'm still underneath their rules. Like, they just passed an ordinance that I put up house numbers on my house. How about you come around with a spray paint can and you spray paint them on the road that you own? You know, they still mandate that I do these certain things. It's not voluntary. So it's not that we're opposed to government. It's not that we're opposed to ruling. In fact, I would even argue anarchism is sort of regular. Like, it's still orderly, right? But it's all about the voluntary. It's all about the consent. And the problem is that we don't live in a world where we can consent to things. And just because the majority says, 50% plus one say, everyone has to paint their house pink, it doesn't make the mandate any more legitimate.
No, just
I don't know how I got there.
To enforce it. No,
That
I'm
was
with
sort of
you
like a Joe Biden
wholeheartedly.
sentence. Like, I started off something and ended up away, and house is pink.
You had
But
a coherent string of thoughts. If you had shouted
Well, that's
"God
good.
Save the Queen" at the end, no, it's really valid. So it's actually why I'm a minarchist, because and this is a whole philosophical discussion again for another time, but we sort of do live in an anarchy. So at some level, everything we are doing is by choice. It's not fully consensual. Like, there's a huge amount of enforcement and coercion to get us here, but a lot of people go into this willingly, and I don't know, that drives me insane. Dr. Dan talked about this last week too. We aren't a democracy, and we need to stop saying we're a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. And again, even my most hardcore ANCAP friends would be real happy if we lived as a constitutional republic, because then we're about some minor philosophical differences that are an inconvenience. We're not about 40% of our income just going to our God Save the Queen shouting president, having TikTok influencers promoting a vaccine from which
Hey.
his campaign's profiting.
he is not our president. He is a collapsed bridge. All right.
I want to
But-
not like the guy. I just feel bad. It's elder abuse. It's sad.
Right. I mean, these are the people we have ruling us, right? If you look back at the original Constitution, I believe they had 17 specifically enumerated responsibilities. And now they're regulating everything. Right? How do you go from 17, I think, enumerated response? Okay, it doesn't include the Air Force. I'll give them 18. They can have the Air Force, right? But like, the thing is we are so far gone from what our founding principles were. I joked earlier, like, cheers to revolution, but that's what it was. Like,
Absolutely.
our country is a country because we decided that we were done dealing with a tyrant who was ruling over us and not giving us representation. And now you've got the, welfare warfare state, administrative state, that just writes a new regulation. Says, well, I interpreted the Clean Water Act to mean that since there's clean water 700 feet that way, I can navigate. Your backyard is a navigable water, and therefore you can't build.
That's
right.
It's like, no one is arguing that we should explicitly permit you to go pour 1,000 gallons of gasoline into the water. And in fact, we have some very powerful remedies for these things. The non-aggression principle, aggression is a broad term in libertarianism. If what you do is hurting other people, you are liable and accountable for it. We're just saying exactly what you said, like some unelected bureaucrat, appointed official, not even appointed, hired by the manager of a manager of a manager, like 3 levels down subordinate from an appointed official, who got a job because she went to school with someone and her parents have money and she gave to this campaign donation. I was like, oh, you'll be our EPA chief. What are your qualifications? Well, I gave this person money. Oh, okay, come on in.
Sounds good for a federal person.
Yeah, exactly. It gets frustrating.
Well, so here's
the
thing. One of the things I was able to do, I ran for office in 22 as a General Assembly candidate, right? I wasn't going to win. I knew that. I was literally in a race where people spent $2.7 million, and I spent $1,200.
How many people are in your town?
It was the whole county, but it was actually Northern
How many
Wake.
people in
And
your county?
you're not supposed to ask me a question that I don't know. So I don't know exactly, but it's
Is it
Granville
enough
County.
to
And
justify $2.7 million?
no, so the person who won was I'm not saying she was one of those candidates that like really needed to win, Like they thought that this race might be the Senate supermajority swing race, right? So it was that sort of thing. Part of the Governor Cooper machine, I suppose, if you want to call it that. Right. The person was appointed by Cooper to be part of a board or something or another previously. But where was I go? Oh yeah. So as I was able to run in 22, I was able to go to a I can't remember what it was, but it was a conservation group in North Carolina. It was hosted at NC State. And they were talking about wood pellet furnaces or something that was some pollution issue. And I looked at them and I was on a panel with all these really important people, and then me and
Really important people.
I say important people because they were elected. But it was actually elected officials, and then me and I believe Dee was there and a couple other candidates. And I literally told them, I said, look, the EPA does not stop pollution. Okay. The EPA just defines the amount of pollution that you can put into the air. And so, people talk about, well, without government, how do you do pollution management? Well, the thing they used to do is they used to say, look, I can hang my clothes on my back, on my backyard, and they're white when I hang them out there, and then by the time that I come back, they've turned gray, and it's because of the pollution. And then you sue the guy, and then you say, look, this is ridiculous. You're ruining my clothes, you're ruining my property, your pollution, your waste is coming onto my property. And then you have a lawsuit, and the EPA comes in and says, well, actually, they're allowed to pollute this much. And so
This is what frustrates me. I got to jump in here real quick.
Absolutely.
And then Duke can whoopsie and spill a few 100,000 tons of coal ash and and literally next to zero accountability because they've bought those politicians. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. But the point is like, there's a certain there's a point when the government jumps in and they just make it worse.
Yeah.
Right? And so now maybe the common law in the different districts and everything else makes it sort of confusing about what to follow and this and that. And I sort of understand the whole, if we could just mandate a, standard, then everyone would be fine. But if you look at that, like what the mandating of the standard says is these people can pollute at will to a certain degree, and these people have no recourse. Yep. And so maybe the standard is, you can do on average, 1,000 parts per million per acre or whatever it is. I don't know. But then one guy gets the concentration and the next guy doesn't. And so the one guy's really affected, and the guy goes to court and the other guy says, well, on average it levels out. And then like, yep, good enough. So he can pollute at will and it'll hurt one person and not the other, but because on average they can. And so it's just a whole lot of this network. And the EPA, again, doesn't really stop pollution. They just mandate what you can pollute.
They, in fact, legitimize it because now they're saying this is an acceptable standard. So if you stay at that standard, oh, we're good. And even worse, I love your averaging out analogy there because Duke can spill a whole hell of a lot of coal ash. And then if someone else puts a sprinkle in, oh, now you've gone over the average.
Right.
And they're not going to go after Duke. They got a lot of money and they're lawyers and they've got every politician bought and sold. They're going to go after the little guy.
Yep. Oopsie whoopsie. I polluted 1 million acres or whatever it is. Yeah.
It's one that gets to me the most. So contrary to some libertarians, not all, but I tend to be more environmental. And so the thing that terrifies me the most is the government trying to fix this problem, because we're going to end up with all of the scorched earth prophecies are going to come true because the government got involved.
Right. I think we were supposed to, I think Greta Thunberg said we were going to run out of, we're all going to die by, was it June 27th or something? I think we just barely made it, but next week, you're never sure. Right. And the government, let's be real, the government doesn't care about pollution. If the government cared about pollution, they wouldn't have the U.S. military shooting depleted uranium rounds causing cancer in Iraq. Right? Like they don't actually care. They just want to use it to pretend.
The biggest polluter in the world is China. Second biggest, India. Third biggest, United States. Fourth biggest, United States military.
Yep.
We're not a serious country anymore.
No, and in to loop back to what now, 30 minutes ago, right? Like, it's maybe collapsitarian, but like, if people just realize that we are not a serious country, we can sit there and we can debate qualified immunity on whether or not a cop is able to shoot some guy's leg off because he didn't realize that it would violate his civil rights.
Or
Right,
who
like-
Harvard is allowed to let in.
Like we're just not a serious country. And so, you know, I don't really know what's going to cause the downfall of the welfare warfare administrative state, but something's going to do it, and it might just be our, you know, escapades in the Middle East, our escapades in Ukraine, our escapades in wherever the hell we want to have escapades. But certainly it's going to come to an end sometime.
I actually think it's going to be inflation. I don't even think we've begun to see like the tip of the spear, as they say. Like, it's just kicking in. It's $8 trillion, but a lot of it hasn't circulated yet. A lot of it is held in certain places, and as it starts to circulate, your dollar is going to be worthless.
Well, your dollar is worthless compared to what it was 100 years ago. But that's just because FDR said, you know, actually
3 cents to 97 cents.
Yeah. They're like, well, you know, was it 1917? I'm going to get scorned by all the libertarians. I can't remember. 17, 19, whatever it was. They start the Fed. 34, they make it legal to use gold. 74, they get rid of the gold standard de facto. I mean, heck, France walked into New York City with one of their destroyers and said, we'd like our gold, please. We're tired of dealing with your inflation. And, you know, we decided that we're just going to make sure that all the gold gets, you know, put in US dollar, or all the oil gets put in US dollars. And if you don't deal with it, we're just going to overthrow your country. We're going to start a war, drop freedom bombs in your country. We can do all this stuff. And there's a bunch of people that just say, you know what, we're done. We're done. And they got enough people. They got Russia, Brazil, India, China. I mean, like, I don't know. It's going to be it's going to be monetary in the end. And you can have a bunch of people sitting there go, I told you so. We talked about this in the 40s, you know?
It's so terrifying because those are controlled economies, and they're as bad as we've gotten. They're worse, but they've set that standard. So they've made us the enemy. Like, they, at least, if nothing else, are consistent. They're doing the horrible things they say they do. We're hypocrites.
I mean, maybe I'll regret this statement later, but like, a controlled economy with a real money is probably better than an uncontrolled economy with a non-real money.
Fiat currency, like we have.
I mean,
we have
maybe
it.
maybe I need to read a couple more peer-reviewed economic studies on that one. But like, if you can, it's all about money. If you can manipulate the money, you can manipulate the people. And if you take away the ability to manipulate the money, then you might be able to control the people with your government, and then you might be able to control them with your police. But you're not going to be able to control them at all levels. And I think you'll probably be more free if you had even if you had a controlled economy with a real money.
I agree with that statement. In fact, one of the biggest things our government threw a hissy fit about was when China wanted to free float the yuan against the dollar. Because, it might show how much the dollar really isn't worth. Yeah.
I think we've touched on, like, what is that, 4 topics now that could be an entire episode?
Yeah, seriously. And we'll bring back, I'm going to expand these into the debate, but look, we have been on for a while. You've been amazing. Awesome discussion. I do have a lightning round that I want to put up, but before we get into it, I got one last question for you. So, Chair of the LPNC, I want to talk vision. What does success look like at the end of 2023 and 2024?
Right. So the Libertarian Party has been around for a while. We're going to continue to be around for a while. And we haven't necessarily made as many goals as we want to. Recently, a member shared some of the old newsletters from the 1970s. And I was reading them, and I was thinking to myself, they're mentioning the ABC store. They're mentioning this. They're mentioning that, right? So we haven't really come a long way, and maybe that's too, pessimistic. But I think at the end of 23, 24, and I think we're already seeing some of these goals, to be honest, but like, I want to repeal a pistol purchase permit, which we've already done. I want to have constitutional carry in North Carolina. I want to get 10, 15, 20 elected local libertarians. It's going to be hard. I don't know if we'll meet that. But I want to have a consistent culture where we don't just run people to get on the ballot and to, be available for people, right? Like, sure, we were on the ballot for over 1 million people last year, and that's a good thing. I want to do that again in 24, but I want to actually win some stuff. I want to actually win. I want to get people who are elected mayors who are running meetings and getting sanctuary cities, whether it be for quote unquote illegal immigration, illegal guns, whatever it is, illegal, yeah, exactly, illegal drugs. I want to get people sitting there going, look, there's no victim to this crime, quote unquote crime. There's no crime, I want to get those sort of people elected and in office and working. Like, look, we need to not run a deficit. We need to run a positive. If we're running a positive, why don't we lower taxes? Right? Like, so those are the things I want to have. People elected, people running the state well, and people having the positions of power. And I hate to say that, right? Because it's not really power. It's just because you got elected, right? But I want to have
away power, though. But yeah, I'm with you.
Right. I want to have people in power say the government could not do X. And so that's what I really want. So whether it be 23 in local elections, 24 running at the state level and other local elections, whatever it is, like, I really want to get people in a position where they can resist the tyranny of the state government and the federal government, and then maybe even the county government. And I just want those people to be in position to protect their own constituents.
Ryan, awesome answer. Thank you so much. One last thing. We got a lightning round. I'm going to throw 2 minutes on here. I got 21 questions because we
Are
can't.
these yes, no, or what?
They're all pretty short answer.
All right, fair enough.
I'm going to read the first question and then the timer is going to start. So what is your least favorite amendment, and very briefly, why?
Third, and because there has not been enough court cases about it.
Okay, fair enough. Favorite band?
Can I come back to this one?
Sure. Dream vacation?
Mountains in the snow.
Very nice. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
Highest speed allegedly attained on your motorcycle?
Allegedly 120.
Okay. Yeah, allegedly. Who is the most influential libertarian philosopher to you?
I beat the Porsche in that, by the way.
No.
Murray Rothbard.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor? I know this, but I threw it on there because it's.
You know this one? I like mint chip, which I don't think is on there because I just can't remember what I have in my freezer.
I thought you were going to say coffee, but.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Coffee.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains, obviously.
What is your least libertarian position?
Abortion.
All right. Where do you want to retire?
In the free state of Ryan Browns in Capistan.
I love it. GIF or GIF?
GIF.
What streaming binges did you rely on during quarantine?
I didn't change my habits, so a combination of CSI, Burn Notice, and Criminal Minds. Nice. All boomer, shows,
Yeah,
but I love them.
Are you a New Year's resolution person?
No, because I fail them before I start.
That's fair. If you were God of the country, what is the first agency you would dismantle?
First off, I would be benevolent God, king of the country, not God of the country, and the ATF.
Nice. What's your most proud moment in the LPNC?
I'm going to come back to this one too. I've got two I'm going to come back to.
It's fair. Which Carolina sports team gives you the most hope?
The most hope is NC State. The most joy is whenever UNC loses.
Nice.
Actually, go App State. I'm supposed to say that instead.
That's fair. Which Carolina sports team has the longest way to go?
App State has the longest way to go up. UNC has the longest way to go down.
What's the moment in the LPNC that you'd like a do-over?
Do-over would be Convention 23, only because I wish I could have campaigned better for chair.
Nice. What's one special talent you have that no one knows about?
I mean, my fingers bend sort of weird. I don't know if that's a talent, but it's certainly something.
I'll take it. It's the lightning round. For home defense, 12 gauge or AR?
AR, without a doubt. You boomer fud.
I know this is funny. I want to bring up though. One interview you would like to see me get on the podcast?
Dave Smith, because he's apparently not interested in doing anything libertarian.
That's fair. Most proud moment in the LPNC. We got two.
I know. I've got two. I got to come back. I would say the most proud moment in the LPNC was me getting elected chair, but not for the reasons that are like super superficial, but just hopefully because I can lead it so we have a lot of local focus.
And last one, favorite band.
See, I was supposed to think of this one during the lightning round, but you asked me so many questions. I'm just gonna go with like an old band that I love that used to be my favorite band, but I'm not sure if they're still my favorite band, and say Boston.
Thank you so much. Great interview, great discussion. Looking forward to having you back on the panel, and looking forward to all the big things that we have coming up in North Carolina. Are you running for anything this time?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I might run for Creedmoor City Council.
Excellent.
I've been trying to. I'll be honest with you. You can't tell because it's below the camera on purpose, but I'm getting a little overweight. So I might decide that I need to walk every neighborhood in Creedmoor and meet some people and talk to them. But I don't know. I may or may not run, but I'll certainly be running in 24. So,
well, we will be promoting it if you are. Thank you again for everything you've committed, everything you've dedicated, and everything you do. Looking forward to seeing what's to come. Everyone who tuned in, hope you enjoyed. Remember, any questions, comments, feedback, love, hate, communications@lpnc.org. Also, all of the at lpnc.org if you want to run for any office. Have a wonderful day. God save the Queen.
Thank you, Rob.
Hey everyone, it's Groo and Dub, and we just want to say Happy Canada Day. And we have them to thank for all this beautiful weather we're having, and all the smoke that's blowing our way due to the wildfires. Thank you, Canada, for all the smoke. It's making everybody feel like crap. But we do want to wish you a happy Canada Day, and we wish you a happy independence as well. So anyway, this is the sports section of Liberty Inc. We just want to say thank you again for waiting to the end to watch this. We really appreciate it. We feel like this is the best part of the show.
Yes.
And so thank you so much. What's on the agenda today, Dub?
Well, one thing we have to do is that we left everybody last episode in a lurch because Wake Forest and LSU were in a 0-0 battle going into the 10th and eventually the 11th inning. But unfortunately, in the bottom of the 11th, LSU hit a 2-run walk-off home run, which propelled them to the College World Series, and they garnered that momentum in order to take them to their World Series title for the NCAA.
Yeah, that's right. We were in the middle of the Wake Forest game when we ended the show last time, and we did promise you that we would tell you how it ended. And as you know, the NCAA World Series is done differently than the Major League Baseball. It's the best of 3 games. And so game 1, LSU won 4-3. It was a very tight game. And then game 2, Florida absolutely blew out LSU with a 24-4 win, which tied the series 1-1. And then the final game, LSU blew out Florida 18-4. So LSU wins the series 2-1. We were going for Wake Forest, but they didn't make it. So congrats to LSU for winning it all, the LSU Pirates. So what were the highlights to you, Dub? I got to plug in.
Wait a minute. Did you say the LSU Pirates?
Are they the Pirates?
They're the Tigers.
Tigers.
That's how Clemson got their name.
That's my bad. The Pirates. Or the Tigers, yes.
Yeah, the LSU Tigers.
Thank you for correcting me.
I think you're getting them confused with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I think it's too early. I need more coffee. So.
Yeah. Drink that coffee. But let's segue into that a little bit. The Pittsburgh Pirates, a lot of the National League Central teams are doing a little bit better than they were promised, preseason, especially them and especially the Cincinnati Reds, who went on an insane 11-game winning streak. They've started another one. Nobody expected this, but it's
Right.
good for baseball that we're starting to see new blood come into the sport that we haven't seen in a good long time.
Agreed. Do you have a favorite Major League Baseball team, by the way?
Yeah, unfortunately, my team that I've followed since they began playing in 1993 are the Colorado Rockies, who are mired in nothingness and just traded their best player, Mike Moustakas, to the Anaheim Angels after they were demolished by them 25-4 last week. And so there's not a lot of looking forward to, but as I've told people, if North Carolina happens to get either an expansion team in Major League Baseball or a team that moves to North Carolina, I will certainly swear them off forever and ever and become a whatever fan, a Raleigh fan, Charlotte fan, North Carolina, Carolina fan. So bring it on, MLB. I've had enough
That's a
heartbreak.
possibility that we may get one.
Yeah, well, I know Charlotte has been talked about a lot, as an expansion city, but here's the problem with Charlotte. Charlotte's run out of real estate. Their ballpark cannot expand past their capacity, which they would need to be at least 30,000 to be a viable major league stadium. However, there is a group in Raleigh called MLB Raleigh trying to get a team there, and they are found on Twitter with the handle of @MLB Raleigh, all one word. And they have just got such fever and excitement that they have the real estate in Raleigh, all over Wake County.
I don't know how much real estate it. They'd have to be on the outskirts for sure.
Yeah, I know one of the sites talked about the old prison site on the south side of Raleigh. Yeah. You demolish that and you build a ballpark, but sort of like what they're trying to do at PNC. You build a ballpark and have a little hotel beside it or a little restaurant beside it, just something else to do while you're in that little ballpark area other than just going to baseball games.
That would be a good area. That's over by NC State off of Western Boulevard. That'd be fantastic. Mm-hmm. And that is a big area. They'd have enough land to do it right there. That'd be really, really cool if they did it.
And they could put it under the authority of the Centennial Authority, who have the rights to PNC Arena and Carter Finley Stadium. I almost did a faux pas there. I almost said Dowdy Ficklin, and that's in Greenville.
Right. You think it would pull from some of the fans from some of the closer teams like Atlanta or even Washington or something like that?
Well, I think that they would have to build their fan base, just like the Hurricanes had to.
Right.
And also somebody brought up the point, and it's actually an FAQ on their site. Well, what about the Durham Bulls? I said, Look at the Seattle Mariners. They have the Tacoma Rainiers right next door, and both of them, neither one, they have not caused Tacoma to fold or go under or lose money. They're just as popular as the Mariners. Right. So having a major league team so close to a AAA squad would not hurt them at all.
Yeah, and Durham Bulls, they packed their stadium out. They're two-time back-to-back championship winners. So they have a really big fan base around here. So there is a market for baseball around here, and that would be awesome.
Right. But the big thing also is, since this is the type of podcast we're on, it does not need any tax revenues or any extra fees incurred by the population of Wake County to build said ballpark. We have enough entrepreneurs in this state that are billionaires now that they can fund their own ballparks.
I completely agree. We do not need subsidized taxpayer money to build any stadium anywhere in this state. I completely agree. That should be on the league and on the team and on the owners. Completely agree with that completely. So good point on that. What else do we need to cover?
Well, as we also stated last week, we have the summer of soccer, and Charlotte FC have been in an interesting quagmire of late. They have drawn their last 3 matches. And what's interesting is that the match against Seattle felt like a win, even though it was a draw, because they had to fight back each time, going down 1-0 and 2-0 and 3-2. And then the match against the New York Red Bulls felt like a loss because they had a 2-0 lead at halftime and gave it away in the second half. And the third one against Montreal was 0-0. And it was the only one that actually felt like a tie because there weren't a lot of chances either side to score, except there was a late one and from Charlotte, but it just didn't go. It was saved. And that was the end of that. And that was the only one that felt like a tie. So hopefully they can get a result of some type in their next match coming up.
And how about the USA game?
Well, the Americans have started their Gold Cup run, and they're using mostly a B/C team, B/C team, I should say, of some of the people they need to get capped. Some of their other young stars from their U21s. And Jesus Ferreira had a hat trick against St. Kitts and Nevis the other day when they beat them 6-0. And they drew with Jamaica in their first match 1-1 because Andre Blake, the Jamaican goalkeeper, was having the game of his life. So the Americans should have won that match 3 or 4-1, but he was just stopping everything they threw at him.
Now, Dub, I have a question for you. I'm sure you've heard that Messi has made the transition to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that that was motivated by the fact that the World Cup will be in North America in 2026, or do you think he just really wanted to play for Miami? What do you think the motivation?
I think it's a little of both. Because I know he was courted by the Saudi Arabian League where Ronaldo went, but I think he also wanted to make a name for himself. He didn't want to go to the Saudi Arabian League to build them up. As you know, there's been a lot of controversy with a lot of Saudi Arabian things lately. He decided to come to America to ply his trade, and Gareth Bale warned him, it is not a cakewalk. The MLS, they come to play. Because you're playing in the off season of all the other soccer leagues around the world. You're basically us, Liga MX, are the only two that really play during this time of year. And I think the Australian League does too, but that's because they're opposite land down there and it's their winter. So
yeah. So let me ask you a question. If Messi's now playing for Miami, would that put him on the US team for World Cup?
No, he would be a designated player.
Okay.
He would still be internationally Argentina because that's how things work in club soccer. That's why they have international breaks, as it were.
So he would still play for Argentina and Miami simultaneously.
Yes, he would.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. I didn't exactly know.
Yeah, Józwiak and Swiderski for Charlotte are both Polish players.
Right.
And they play for Poland if they're called up.
Okay. I was thinking we were going to get Messi for USA.
No, that's not how that works.
Okay.
No, it's like Nikola Jokic in basketball. He plays for Serbia when it comes to Olympics and Basketball World Cup. So he's not going to play for the United States in the upcoming Basketball World Cup. So
well, darn, I was thinking we were that would have been cool. So what else we need to cover?
Well, like we know, we are still in the doldrums for the major American sports. The Carolina Hurricanes did draft this past week, and I'm optimistic about some of the prospects they picked up, but they were drafting really low in a bunch of those rounds, and I know a couple of them were compensatory picks that they got from some trades like they made with the Rangers that one time for Drury and all that.
I don't think we covered this last show, but they did sign a 4-year deal with Jordan Stahl.
Yes, they did. And they re-signed Jesper Fast.
Nice. I like him a lot. I'm glad we have him.
And well, I think he loved the chemistry he had with Jordan Stahl. And when he saw Jordan Stahl re-sign, he decided to re-sign. So
very nice. And they're
But-
still working on Sebastian Aho, correct? They haven't secured his.
Well,
contract
we still have him for this year, but
Right.
the extension is what's important.
yet. Right. I believe it's
Next year we
important
got to
hold
worry
on.
about Svechnikov.
Right.
So I say we knock two birds out with one stone, as they say.
Is he all healed up with his ACL, torn ACL?
Well, he'll be back. He'll be back for the season, but he might not be in for the first month or two. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, if we can hold on to Svechnikov as well, that'd be fantastic. And the schedule did get released this
Mhm.
week as well. So grab your tickets now, or grab your season tickets now, for all you Caniacs out there. And what's going on with Carolina Panthers? Any updates with that?
no new updates with that. I know that there's an outside chance that we may get the free agent DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver, but I think he is more adept to going to a team that is more in a win now mode or closer to a Super Bowl than the Panthers are. They're still building towards that. The Panthers just have to win a division first. And I just don't think he's coming to the Panthers.
Right. Well, maybe we should try to get to a game this year and we can broadcast from down there. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh, that would be neat. I would have to,
We'll make it work.
pack some microphones in my suitcase so I sound just as good as I do now.
You do sound good.
Yeah. But anyway, I believe that's it. There's no word on the Hornets, where they're gonna, at least I don't know yet where they're playing for Summer League. I don't know who their Summer League coach is gonna be. So
And who is their new owner since Michael Jordan sold them or sold his-
well, I know that all that has to be voted on by the Board of Governors. It has to be 24 out of 32 teams that approve of the sale. And the new, and this is all the information that they put out, but it is what used to be the minority owner, Gabe Plotkin, and an Atlanta Hawks minority owner, Rick Schnall. Those two are the head of the group.
Mhm.
And as you know, a minority owner there is Ja Rule, native North Carolina, native Charlottesian, Mecklenburg County. So there's a lot of North Carolina influence in the team. And of course, Michael Jordan will remain minority owner.
Right.
He will
5%,
not be
something
a
like that.
voting share at the Board of Governors.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's all we have for sports ball this week. And this is the sports broadcast for the Liberty Inc. And how about you close us out?
Yes, thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.